Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Bikes for Death podcast. As always, my name is Patrick, and I'm your host. And welcome to what I think is a special edition of the Bikes for Death podcast. If you listened to last week's episode, you might have heard that I put a call out to anybody who is currently racing the Tour Divide to contact me and set up a time to chat. There were a few different people that I've been chatting with, but it's difficult to line this up with schedules. Obviously, their priority is to be out there pushing themselves, racing their bikes, and probably the last thing anybody wants to do, or most of the people want to do, is take a few minutes to record a little podcast with me. But, so often we get reports of the race after the fact, but I thought it'd be really neat, especially with the Tour Divide, since it's such a long race. I was like, certainly there's got to be someone out there who's going to have some downtime that wants to chat and kind of give us a play-by-play and let us know, what it's like to be out there right now on the Tour Divide. And I got to give a huge shout out and a thanks to my new friend, Nick Marzano. He was incredible in just working through the scheduling and making this all come together. It took us a few days to where our schedules could align, but he was just really awesome and willing to make that happen. And so just last night, I was able to catch up with Nick as he was hanging out in Pinedale, Wyoming. He had a little bit of a short day, and we're going to talk about why that is in today's episode. But it worked out that we were able to chat, and we were able to get a live report from Nick. When we chatted, he was 1,250 miles into the race, which is dang near right at halfway. And at that time, he was in about 24th place on the Tour Divide. And so he's doing absolutely amazing. And I'm really glad that we got to talk to somebody who's actually kind of in the middle, or as he likes to say, the upper middle pack, and hear about what the conditions have been like from him and get some feedback on what the race has been like this year and what the chatter has been like as this year's race unfolds. So I hope y'all enjoy today's episode. I hope we don't breach any media rules. Phones are allowed. You're allowed to talk to people. And Nick chose to talk to me, and I recorded it. So I don't think we broke any rules, not trying to break any rules. But I thought it would be really cool just to talk to somebody who's actually on the Divide. I've never done this before. I don't think anyone has done this before. So I think it's kind of cool, unique, a little bit different. And you will be able to watch Nick's progress for the rest of the Tour Divide. And so if you do want to follow him, you can check his dot, and his Instagram information will be in the show notes. So if you want to follow along Nick and maybe send him a shout out, tell him you appreciate him taking some time to share his story to date with all of us, you can do that. Just check the show notes. All right. Well, let's thank the people that made today's episode possible, starting with our latest patron. I'd like to give a big shout out to Daniel Heaton, who signed up this week as a new patron. And we really appreciate everybody who's able to support this podcast. And if you would like to support the podcast, you can do so over at patreon.com/bikes for death. There's a lot of perks to signing up, but the main benefit is that you just get to make sure that these episodes keep coming into your podcast feed every single week. All right, everybody. Today on the podcast, we got a new sponsor. I'm excited to introduce Embark Maple Energy. We all can get fatigued when we're looking for ways to give us healthy and good nutrition that our body needs while we're out on bike rides. And that's where Embark Maple enters the equation. So Eric, tell us, what is Embark Maple?
Well, Embark Maple, at its roots is really good energy from the woods of Wisconsin. Embark starts with organic maple syrup that is sourced from our farm. We are full-time maple farmers, and we add a pinch of sea salt to it. We really wanted to bring more of a culinary angle to sports nutrition. We also grow organic elderberries for an elderberry maple variety, and we work with a local coffee roaster for coffee maple energy. So you can get all of your nutrients, your electrolytes, potassium, manganese, magnesium, riboflavin, all naturally from maple syrup. And the sea salt brings you your sodium chloride. You have an energy density that's equivalent to commercial gels, except it's a lot more delicious. Embark is packaged in 3-ounce pouches, which is equivalent to about 3 tear-off gel packs. It has a resealable cap, so you can use as much or as little as you want, and then recap when you're done for no mess. The other unique thing about Embark is that it has multi-use. So you can use it as an energy shot, just like a gel. You can use it as a hydration aid. The elderberry is my favorite to mix in my water bottle, but then also for rejuvenating in camp cooking and camp cocktails.
The product with a million uses. Interesting. So, what was the inspiration for Embark Maple, and why did you settle on maple as the go to nutrition source?
Great question there. I mean, I think just to start off with, the indigenous people of North America have gone to maple for as long as there's time as a source of good energy. So, we're not the first ones to do this by any means. But it was during my kind of endurance mountain biking and when I was really getting into these type B adventures that I started looking at other ways of getting the nutrition my body needed. I just wasn't enjoying the gels that were out there. And maple syrup had a nutrient profile that was very similar to gels. Started adding just sea salt to it. Both, it helps brighten up the flavors, but you also get the sodium chloride to help with hydration.
Yeah, man. You were nice enough to send me some sample packs. Actually, everybody at the East Texas Showdown received a sample pack of your product. I've been able to try it for the last couple months, and I've been really impressed with it and have been enjoying it. Like you said, you brought a culinary aspect to it, and it tastes amazing. And this is my first introduction to maple, and it's been a good one. Now I understand that you also want to let our listeners try it out for free. How can they do that?
Yeah, if folks want to go to our website, embarkmaple.com, and you can enter the code Bikes or Death to get a free set of prototypes. Last year, we went through a prototype round on Embark. We're making some improvements to the packaging, and we're going through another round of production this year. But we're handing out the prototypes as samples for folks. So use the Bikes or Death promo code, and for the price of shipping, we'll send you a 3-pack of our Embark Maple Energy.
Thank you so much, Eric. Listeners, go to embarkmaple.com, enter Bikes or Death, and get yourself a free sample pack of this great product by a great company. Thanks for coming on today, Eric. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here for today's episode. I'm really excited about this one. I hope you are as excited about it as I am. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. But first, let's have Miles Arbor take it away with the Bikes or Death theme song.
You load up your bike, you ride away from home. You could be with your friends or you could be alone. You ride for a day or maybe more. You just love being in the great outdoors. Everything you need is strapped to your bars, including that new pillow you got from Santa Claus. And then you think, oh shit, to yourself. You left that super lightweight tent on the living room shelf. Bikes or death. Bikes or death. Podcast.
Thanks for making the time, man. I know you're probably busy. So I appreciate you being willing to hop on the phone with me for a little bit.
No, totally. I was so excited. It's just like you said, the time management out here is somewhat up to your legs, somewhat up to Mother Nature, and somewhat up to just luck.
Yeah. How'd you hear about me wanting to interview somebody on the Divide? Because I put it out on social media and I also put it out on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. No, I saw your Instagram story, I guess, and said something like, you don't have to be fast. I'm just looking for someone on the Divide. That's me.
That's you?
I guess, I can at least give you some eyes on the ground. If you want to talk to a fast person, though, at some point, obviously you've talked to Sophion before, which is really awesome. Abe Kaufman, who is from a crew of riders in Virginia that I've been kicking around with, and friends with a guy he's actually on the phone with in the other room right now, who I've been riding with for a while. He's in like 4th or 5th place. He's just crushing it. So
Yeah, Abe Kaufman. Yeah, he's looks like 200 miles behind Sophion, but Sophion's just kind of doing his thing. And then there's a nice little bunch right after him between like 2nd through 5th place. Everybody's kind of bunched together back there. So he's from your hometown or your like area?
no, there's not a whole lot. So I'm from Philadelphia, and there's not a ton of great gravel riding or bike backing out there. But I've got hooked up with this crew from around Harrisonburg, Virginia. This guy Dave Landis runs a race called the Trans Virginia 550 out of there, which I did last fall, and met a bunch of great people on that. A couple of whom have done the Tour Divide, and we all, 3 of us at least, 4 of us, made a pact to do it this year. So I've gotten to know them a little bit better through training over the past couple of months.
Oh, awesome. So you got like a little training group put together, and all 4 of y'all went out to do it this year?
Yeah. All, somewhat different paces, different styles, but it's been nice to have there is one other guy who lives in Philly who I've done some outdoor rides with. And then we've all done, during the cold, dark, I know you don't have this you're in Texas, right?
Yeah.
But the cold, dark days of winter in Philly and Virginia, we were on Zwift together doing our 7-hour Century rides in our living rooms.
Dude, that's awesome. So your friend Abe that you ride with, was he kind of, expecting or wanting to be pushing a pretty fast pace? Do you know what his goals were going into it?
Oh yeah, I won't speak too much for Abe, but I know that he was there to compete. I know that much for sure. He was definitely there where I'm here to push myself and see what I can do. And I know he feels the same. He wanted to finish, I think, no matter what, but he's a competitor, man. His handlebar broke just that we were getting coffee at the Tim Hortons in Banff beforehand, walked out, and Abe was just a wreck. We're like, what's going on? His handlebar snapped. It had blown over at the hostel the night before, and he hadn't noticed it until we got to Tim Hortons right before the Grand Depart. So he scrambled, found, some amazing person who got him a handlebar, got him set up, and Scott gave him a 9:30, allowed him to be in the Grand Depart, and gave him I think it was a 9:30 start. So technically he has 2 hours. I mean, he's 200 miles behind Sophion now, but technically he has a 2.5 hour grace period or whatever to make up, I think. But it sounds like Sophion is just he's on a completely different level than most human beings.
Yeah, he apparently is good at this stuff.
Yeah.
That's I'm glad you brought up the stage start, because I kind of forgot about that, but that was a new thing that they did this year, isn't it? Or do you know?
I think so. But no, it is from accounts that I've heard from others, and what Scott and Matt Lee sort of talks through Scott, I guess. But what we heard was that this has gotten so big, and Canada Parks was getting less and less excited about it, and then if we did not adhere to this stage start, they were going to invoke permit requirements. So I'm not sure exactly what it was, but they were not going to let it be this sort of unsanctioned event.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's one thing I was curious to ask you about is what was the start of the Tour Divide like this year? I mean, is there a big meeting where you all get together and they explain all the rules and they go over everything, or like what is that like at the beginning? What's that whole, I don't know. I've never been, and I've never talked to anyone about it before, but I'm kind of curious.
Everything I've talked to a lot of vets on the route, just riding with them, and everything I've heard is that yes, typically this guy Crazy Larry is sort of the self-appointed truth teller, rule teller, both, has some inspirational comments and then also goes through the rules. This year it was kind of subdued. If that's how it used to be in the past, if there was a pre-race meeting, I guess he sent out a video to everyone on the email list. I actually hadn't watched it because I was just so busy ahead of it, so I haven't even seen it yet. I don't know if he was asked not to come or if he couldn't come. I don't know if it was related to the whole parks threat thing. There's definitely something going on behind the scenes that I'm certainly not privy to. It sounds like they were dealing with a lot. I mean, we didn't get the final track until, a few days beforehand. So whatever the case was, the start was pretty subdued. Everybody clung to their wave starts pretty well, and we all cheered each other out, and that was it. It was still, a good celebration. It just felt a little subdued.
Huh. The Crazy Larry, did you ever watch the Ride the Divide film, the Mike Dion one that had Crazy Larry in it? It's not the same Crazy Larry, is it? Do you know?
No, I know, but I met a guy who, while I was riding through, what was it, Condon, I think, Montana, pouring rain. It was one of the nights that a bunch of people were airlifted out for hypothermia, and I was just drenched. Got to a place that looked like a bar, knocked on the door, like, are you guys closed yet? Can I sleep on the porch out here? He was like, oh, actually, I bought this a couple of years ago. It used to be a bar. Everybody stops here thinking it still is a bar. This is my home. So we got to chatting for a little bit, and he knows, he's a logger in the area and knows that guy, and was telling me stories about. You're talking about the guy who's like, see that up there? That's my bank. That's where I make.
Yeah, that's my bank. I go up there, yeah. I make a deposit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. What a small world that they would know about that. So you touched on all the evacuations that took place, and while you were talking about maybe a strenuous relationship between like the Park Service that's maybe developing in the background. I mean, we have no idea, but that is something that I do hear about these events are kind of unsanctioned. They're not permitted through the U.S. Forest Service. I don't know what they have up there in Canada and what their permitting process looks like. But, that is one of the concerns is as these things get bigger, that it draws more attention. And not only does it draw more attention, it draws more people. And maybe some of those people are unprepared and they have to get rescued and life flighted out of there, which, causes emergency responses to be stressed and probably draws some negative, what's the word, like views or thoughts towards, the Tour Divide as a whole. How familiar are you? I mean, you are in the middle of the Tour Divide and busy riding your bike. So how familiar are you with all those evacuations and what's been going on with that?
Oh, we're definitely checking out the Facebook page and seeing, there was a gentleman who was posting, Simon, I think was his name. He was posting on behalf of Fernie Search and Rescue, which wasn't the only search and rescue out there. There were some on the U.S. side and some others in Canada, I believe, who were involved in, I want to say 15. I don't know for sure, but I know it was somewhere in the order of 15 Tuesday and Wednesday of last week, picked up either by helicopter or by vehicle or whatever it may be. Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know what to make of it, except that the weather, again, from those vets that I've talked to, this has been an absolutely crazy year with the snowpack that was there before the events of Tuesday and Wednesday when that winter storm blew through. It was already slow going through those mountains. I had one vet say, that mountain that just took us 5 hours to hike a bike through took me half an hour the last time I was there. You just ride it. And it was the most, treacherous slog this time. And the people who were a little bit, if you would call me mid pack or upper middle pack, I don't know. The people who were
I like that upper middle pack. I think that's fair. Yeah. Do you know what place you're in right now?
I think it's somewhere in the 20s, but that's mostly because of attrition.
Hey, dude, that definitely counts though. Being able to outlast outlast people. I mean, that's part of it is being durable, and it's an endurance sport, right? Having the endurance to keep going. Because when we first started talking about hopping on, you were at 44 in 44th place, and I was counting real quick before we got on the phone, and I thought it was in the 20s, but I didn't get the exact number. But I think you were going to talk about how being a little bit maybe at the, towards the front of the pack, or, upper middle pack, did you avoid some of the more nastier weather?
Yeah, I guess right before Richmond Pass, when, that night after I talked to the guy who knows Crazy Larry, I ended up staying at a B&B with maybe 4 or 5 other racers. And we all just decided, my kit was soaking wet. It just felt dangerous. I knew Richmond already had snow on it, and it was supposedly, as we were, getting ready to go, starting to accumulate 12 to 18 inches or something like that. We watched Ashley Carlock, I think that's her name, Ashley Carlock. Yeah, we watched her dot go up, and then watched her dot come back down. And a few others did make it over, but I just didn't want to mess with hypothermia. So I took a knee for the day. And I think, the people at the front of the pack escaped that. They'll hit other things. It's not that, because you're fast, you don't have to deal with Mother Nature. It's just the timing worked out, I think, better for them with that event. And there was definitely a slow penalty, right? If you're more of a touring racer, maybe you're carrying more and you're more prepared for it, and that's why you're slow. And so maybe you're able to make it over there. But if you're not prepared for it, and you don't have the option of saying, I'm going to put in a 150-mile day today to try to outrun tomorrow's weather, then you're kind of at the mercy of it, and you need to, either go doubly slow, or for people that have limited vacation and have, maybe spent the past 6 months training for this, or planning for it, buying gear and getting really excited, maybe longer than 6 months. I get the sense they just said, let's go for it. And you get in a bad spot, and you've got to hit the SOS. I don't want to judge anybody. That I'm glad that they hit the SOS, that they got in that situation. But there was definitely a penalty for folks in the back.
Yeah.
This year.
What do you, is it just that, I know you can't speak to everyone, but you are in the field, and maybe you're hearing from other racers, and maybe you aren't, but do you have a sense? Is it just the weather is just so unprecedented that people just, there wasn't really an expectation of this. They just got in over their heads, you think?
Yeah. There's a lot of back and forth. People, blaming the people who hit SOS, using it as like an Uber out of there. There were some people who were in real bad situations who, were hypothermic, and I'm absolutely glad they hit SOS. I don't know everyone's situation.
No.
There was some, there was definitely a report, and you could check the snowpack of how bad the initial snowpack was. But as for the incoming weather, I think I don't have an inReach. I use a Spot Gen 3, and so I'm kind of at the mercy of when I have Wi-Fi or signal, and that can be a little tough. And if you don't have Wi-Fi or signal, maybe you came in from Europe or you came in from somewhere else. I could just see how it would be difficult to keep track of that, but you have to, because hopefully that's a lesson for anyone who comes back next year. It certainly is for me, that this is really no joke. It's, the riding might not be technical. It might be, for the most part, but you throw some weather in there, and mountain weather is absolutely no joke. You've got to figure out how to prepare for it, and prepare a long route for it as well.
Yeah. No kidding. I'm not judging any of them harshly. I'm not there, and I don't feel like that's my place. And sure, I've read some stuff on the internet, but I'm not there, and so I'm not going to judge him. But, my thought went to Sofian, who in 2019 got himself in a really difficult situation. And he didn't hit the SOS, but I talked to him. He was on the podcast like 4 days after pulling out of that Tour Divide. And it was a legitimate, potentially life or death type situation. I mean, he was woefully unprepared for being in those types of extreme weather, and he didn't know where the track was, and fortunately he was able to backtrack and find his way back to the Brush Mountain Lodge. But if he wasn't able to do that, one of the top athletes, and not to make an example out of him, but my point is like we can all get caught with our pants down, and
Totally.
I think you made an excellent point that the prudency needs to be on making good decisions in the moment and evaluating whatever information you have, right? Like, you need to be in the game. You need to know what's up ahead of you and utilizing whatever information or resources you have, and making smart decisions so that you don't get yourself in that situation.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's a perfect example of a penalty for those at the front, right? And it sounds like, I don't know, it was in Sofjan's heart and mind at that point, but you do an assessment of the risk and you say, okay, this looks risky, but the benefit is I break through that snowstorm and I'm ahead of all of these other folks who might get caught behind it. And we were definitely doing that in our own small way, in our mid-pack way, when, with Richmond Peak, watching Ash Kerouac go up and saying, oh man, are we making the wrong choice here? Bedding down for a day. We didn't know what to do with ourselves for a whole day off. It felt indulgent and wasteful, and it was nice to get to know other riders for sure. But then, as it turns out, I'm kind of meandering the point, but we made a risk assessment. We made the other one, which was let's stay put, not get hypothermic, and we ended up catching up with a lot of the people that went over that first day who may have been more exhausted, may have needed a little bit more time to recover, or at the very least, we've been leapfrogging with them. So
Right. Yeah, that's very interesting, but you have no idea. Yeah, you have no idea. So what were those, I mean, the conditions that you went through? Like, how I saw on your Instagram, I saw a picture of the bike in the snow. I mean, it's one thing to see a picture, but like, how gnarly were those conditions? How hard were they? What was it? What did it look like to have boots on the ground, so to speak?
Man, I could have used some boots. It was like until really today.
That's why Alexandra does so well, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Alexandra Houchin. Yeah,
I know of her.
That's her
yeah.
secret. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was joking, like, should I get crampons for my shoes? Because we knew what the snowpack looked like. And we were like, that's funny. Crampons for your shoes. Fine. It was, they probably would have been helpful. Snowshoes honestly would have been helpful. It was, especially on Richmond Pass, the picture that you're talking about, it was 12 to 2 feet of snow. I think it toward the top, on top of 1 to 2 feet of snowpack, I think is what my friend said, from the Gaia layer. So we would have been hiking snowpack no matter what for a portion of it. There was a ton of fresh snow. It was, we had the benefit in passes before Richmond where there wasn't fresh snow of, to some extent, the fast penalty was they were cutting the snow for us at the front. But even then, the passes that didn't have fresh snow, even if they had a trail, it was like walking through, like pushing your bike through a slushy, where you push it a little bit and then the nose dips into the snow, and then you pick it up and you push it a couple of feet and the nose crashes into the snow. So it was, my Achilles is ripped to shreds, which is why we did a very short day today, or at least why I did a short day. These guys have their own reasons, but
how did you, did you prepare mentally for that type of a slog and that much snow and that cold of weather? Like, were you prepared for that mentally? And if you weren't prepared for that mentally, how did you deal with that? You just roll with the punches. I mean, that's early on, so it's like, fuck, come on, man.
Yeah. I think the way I prepared for it was just like, I really did try, when I was able to be on my bike, to be very grateful for being on my bike. I tried to be very grateful. Like when I was on climbs, actually just talking to myself to keep the bears away, going through the things that I was grateful for that day, as corny as that sounds.
I like that.
And that whole mental game completely collapsed yesterday when when I thought we had gotten through. And because then I just rolled with the punches, because what are you going to do? You're going to push your bike through it, or you're going to quit. And some people did quit, and they said, you know what, I'm going to get to Mexico, but I'm going to go on the road because this is ridiculous and it's not fun and it's not biking. And for them, I totally understand that decision. I didn't get to the point where that was even an option until Wyoming yesterday, when we we hit a pass that didn't really have a ton of snow on it, but had peanut butter mud for like 8 miles. That I just had to cradle my bike and carry it like a small child for a few miles. But until that point, my morale held up.
Until anyone's ever ridden through true peanut butter mud to where it's clumping to your tires and your feet, and every single step is just getting heavier and heavier and heavier, it's hard to know like how heavy and how like really difficult that is. And not to mention you're doing 100 miles or whatever a day, so it's not like you're a spring chicken out there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I wonder how far along I would be, and the rest of the pack would be further too. This isn't saying I'd be doing better position-wise, but I think the entire pack would move forward 100 to 150 miles probably if we didn't have 3 to 5 hour hike-a-bikes every single day for the first 7 days. It takes a lot out of you. But yeah, the peanut butter mud is absolutely nuts. I had a friend on Instagram say, well, why don't you just lower your tire PSI? I think that'll work. Dude.
Oh, sorry. Not to laugh at your friend, but that doesn't work. I feel bad. I just laughed at your friend. I hope he doesn't listen to this.
No, like you said, it's until you get into it. I mean, I hadn't ridden into it until yesterday, and as soon as I hit it, I was like, all right, I know exactly what this is, and this is awful. This is as bad as they say. It's just concrete.
So what happened when, you said you were keeping a good attitude, everything was going fine until you hit the mud? What does it look like for Nick or for you when things go bad?
Are
there tears? Please tell me there's tears.
There aren't tears. There's a lot of cursing.
That's even better.
Like when you're out alone in the middle of nowhere, the ability to just scream at the top of your lungs, and just drop an F-bomb into, and I started cursing Wyoming. Idaho got a bit of it as well. There was a mosquito-infested bog the day before, actually. That is where my morale decline started. It was always too, and we would say, it's going to be a nice, easy day. We just get through this pass, and then it's nice and easy. And it's the last 14 miles of the last 2 days that have wrecked me a bit. But yeah, it looks like a lot of screaming at things that I can't control, which doesn't really help anything. But it's good to let it out.
Yeah. I'm with you. You got to let it out. I'm not much of a crier. I've never cried on a bike packing trip. I feel like I'm missing out. I probably haven't tried hard enough or something, but I'm more of I might yell or cuss and get mad. I like to say I get mad at it or whatever. So it sounds like, are you like riding with a group, or are there just so many riders that you're just always around people?
Yeah, it's mostly, so it's a little bit of A and B. My friend David Landis, who he's like a trail designer, designed the Trans Virginia 550 route and 520 that I raced. That's how I met him last October. We've been using Kurt Refschneider's plan, so we both felt confident we were kind of on the same speed, and said, hey, you want to ride together through bear country? But we're very explicit about, hey, if I'm having a bad day and you go when you need to go, let's both ride our own race. And if our decisions work out where we're glad meeting up at the same spot at the end of the night, great. Otherwise, you push ahead. And so the way it's worked out, we rode together maybe day 1, day 2, But by day 3, 4, I would kind of push ahead, do my own thing. David has been rolling in like a couple hours after, but like tomorrow he's going to get up and leave Pinedale at 4 a.m. And I'm not sure at this point. We're out of bear country, first of all, so I think we're both ready to just go ride totally solo. But I'm also, questioning, does it really matter? Like, who cares if I'm in the 20s? Do I care? Is it more like, am I going to keep pushing myself like this and banging up my Achilles and, my butt, like everybody else's, is very raw? Or am I going to wake up at 7 o'clock tomorrow and get up by 8? So it's been, and then there are a couple of other riders, to answer your original question, that we've picked up along the way who are, oh, you're going into this town, you want to split a motel, it's going to be 20 degrees tonight, that sort of thing.
Yeah, you're being economical about it. What was your goal going into it, and not only your time goal? I think it says 19 days on track leaders, but like your overall goal of like the experience that you want to have and how hard you want to push yourself. Like what was your idea going into it? Yeah,
now I'm so embarrassed by that because I'm way behind that at this point. I think I'm trying to catch up with.
I think everyone's behind. We already addressed that. Yeah, everybody's behind. So yeah.
My original goal in the letter of intent was 23 days. And I dialed that up a little bit as it got closer and my training felt really good. And I think if the conditions were not what they are, or if I really understood and digested or done some math about how long it would take to hike through some of the snowpack I knew was there, I wouldn't have said 19 days. But right now, I think my goals are to finish it, to get to Mexico, to maintain a race pace, overall average, and to not get fired, to get back to my job early enough that I don't get fired. So
those are great goals.
And everything else is just enjoy the experience along the way. So I do, I want to push myself. I want it to be a race, not a tour. Although today feels more like the latter for sure. And that's nice.
Well, your average speed is good. I mean, your moving average is almost at 10 miles an hour, which is pretty fast. I mean, considering, let's see, Sophion his moving speed is 9.9. So, I mean, that's race pace.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of him sleeping 4 hours a night and me sleeping 5 hours or 6 hours some nights.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I mean, it's not that crazy. We talk about it a lot on the podcast. It really does come down to just time on the bike and how long can you be on the bike. But yeah, I mean, your pace is really good. So I think you'd be pretty stoked on that.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with where I'm at.
Yeah. What about your sleep? I mean, you had that one day where you thought it might feel a little wasteful, but in hindsight, it probably was a good idea, especially since you caught up to a lot of the people that had went ahead. What was the name of that town? Richmond?
Condon?
No.
Oh, Richmond?
I can't remember
Richmond Pass.
Richmond Pass, that's what it was. Yeah, whenever you held back at that. But other than that, did you have a sleep schedule and a stop schedule that you've been pretty well adhering to, or what was your plan with that?
I had a schedule when I started that I deviated from almost immediately because of how much of a slog some of these nights were. So that kind of got thrown out, and I've been using the 1 of 7 data sheets, and there's so many resources these days. Looking at resupply along the way and just trying to figure out between that, elevation profiles, and snowpack, what do I think I could do, and just doing the best that I can to get to. I've been a little heavier on the motel side than I had budgeted for or planned, but it's been nice to be able to get a shower and get rested up and not camp out. I brought a bivvy, not a tent, and so camping in the pouring rain has also been felt a little risky.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think you said it's going to be 20 degrees tonight. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's got to be tough because not only, and actually, this is something I wanted to ask you, but I mean, the hotels that have to be great for, I mean, everything, powering your stuff, cleaning your bike, getting a good night's rest, and being ready to like tackle the next day. So, as a case in point, you're in Pinedale, Wyoming right now, right?
Yep.
Okay, Pinedale, Wyoming. You're in a hotel. What? Give us an update because this is fun. I've never talked to anybody that was actually doing a race, so this is pretty fun. And we're gonna put out this episode like in a couple days, and people are gonna be able to like watch your dot, and I think it's kind of exciting. But I'm like, so like right now you're in Pinedale, Wyoming. You're at mile 1,250. You're about halfway. Give us an update on. I'm curious. Let's start with how are you feeling right now? What hurts? What feels good? And maybe nothing does, but give us an update starting with how are you feeling right now?
Yeah. No, morale is. We'll start with like the morale thing, which is pretty low after the hike bike last night. We all got in a lot later than we thought we would. Again, this little group of three, David, Ethan, and I were aiming for the Lava Mountain Lodge last night, and got in super late. After that hike bike, just covered in mud. So today the riding was beautiful. I'm feeling good. I think I was debating taking a day off just to reset things in Pinedale and completely take myself out of racing, but try to get my motivation back. And I think I'm not going to do that. So that's where morale is. The things that are hurting, I think I speak for all 130 riders when I say my butt. It's a lot of days in the saddle, and just seems to be no way to avoid saddle sores. My Achilles.
Like when we say saddle sore, how bad are they?
They're the worst I've ever had, but I have never I've done 4 or 5 day events before and had literally no problems. So I don't know what to compare it to, but they're not like open sores. If I can be that graphic,
Yeah,
I
please.
think I've got them under control.
How are you? What do you do to manage them? It's like raining and snowing, and you're sweating. And I mean, do you manage it in any way? Like clean your riding shorts, or some people use baby powder. I mean,
I know. Yeah, wasn't there just a guy on your podcast who was that you were talking to? Who said he
Indy
uses baby powder and no?
He swears by it. Indiana Schultz. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought some baby powder after that, and I haven't used it yet, but I need to try it out. I don't really have issues. I need to use it on like a really long ride, when I might have a saddle sore, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been trying that. So that's in my repertoire now, thanks to your podcast. So, and that seems to be working. I use Vaseline, chamois butter. There were a couple of samples at the Alpaca Ranch that we stayed at that I picked up. But mostly
y'all stayed at the Alpaca Ranch?
Yeah, that was so cool. That was great. Like nice little bunk. They waved us in. Great people.
So what's the deal? Real quick, let's take a little tangent. What's the deal with the Llama Ranch or the Alpaca Ranch? It's free. They just have like a little shack you can stay in. Like I keep seeing it pop up on Instagram, but I don't know the story there.
Yeah, it's totally free. It's pay it forward. These folks realized they were on the route years ago. I want to say, early 2000s, maybe on the ACA route, maybe predating that, maybe predating Tour Divide as well. At any rate, yeah, they have more. They have a bunch of little cottage-like things that maybe have 4 bunk beds in them, 2 bunk beds depending on it. Like a little teardrop trailer that looks like it sleeps maybe 2. We had a little red shed sort of thing with solar power battery, and it's just very nice people. They had sandwiches homemade in the fridge, and a couple of beers, and we asked if what we could give them for it, and they said, please just go out into the world, think about what you would have paid to stay here, and contribute that back out into the world. So I don't know if you could find nicer people than that.
What? Yeah, that gave me goosebumps. How cool is that? That's some real trail magic right there, man. That's so cool.
Really is. It really is.
Okay, so your butt hurts. Everybody's butt hurts. Your Achilles heel, or heels plural. How are they doing?
Just the right one. I think it's not great, but I did 180 miles to Lima on it one night, and it felt fine. If I'm pedaling and if I'm allowed to be off my bike or not hiking up, it's hiking up these steep grades, pushing a bike up a steep grade with snow or mud, or Coco Claims. If it had just been Coco Claims, that's hard enough. And the wall, I could have made it through those, but you throw 5 snowy hike bikes and peanut butter mud on top of that, and it's getting pretty rough. I think that's it. I've got a couple of bruises here and there from my.
Well, the interesting thing about sorry to interrupt you, but interesting thing about the Achilles heel is, and I'm assuming that this is kind of a new injury. I mean, you're learning things about your body, pushing it farther than you have, harder than you have, and so this is one of the things that I'm always interested in is how people manage these injuries that come up, and or maybe this isn't an injury, maybe this is an ailment, and sometimes if you keep riding, it'll just go away. Sometimes it'll get worse. So what is your personal thought on your Achilles? Is just keep going and see what happens and hope for the best? Are you doing anything to manage it? I don't even know what you do with that.
I don't know either. I looked at what it might look like to use KT tape. There was another podcast. What's the new bike packing podcast?
The Bike Pack Racing podcast, probably.
Yeah.
The one with Ezra and Andrew Onerma.
Oh no, that's there's another one still that just came out. Anyhow, he was talking to Kristen from Brush Mountain Lodge, and she was saying something about someone who used a glove to reinforce their Achilles by putting the glove over their foot and then tying it around the ankle. I couldn't really get a good picture in my mind of what that looked like. So the short answer is I've been doing nothing. I wasn't able to find KT tape. I don't know how this glove trick works. I've just been hoping and praying that there's no more 45-degree angle hike-a-bike.
Yeah. And it's too bad that the Brush Mountain Lodge is shut down this year and Kirsten isn't there. So you can't even, because you could roll through and ask her, be like, hey, show me that glove trick you were talking about. Although she might not supposed to be offering assistance, but maybe she would. Who knows? Hey, she's on route. I don't know how that works. I'm not gonna go down
the whole rule thing. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what I haven't collected all of my thoughts about the whole rule thing yet, and I've probably broken 1 or 2 of them so far, but I'm not in contention. So who cares, right?
Well, it'll be fun to see if we get any feedback on the internet about media intervention on your race, and we might get relegated. So are you ready for that?
I'm ready for relegation. I've been ready since I was born.
I don't think so. It seems like, I don't know. We never know what the internet's going to think about anything. What about your bike and your gear? How is everything holding up? And is there something that you wish that you brought that you don't have besides KT tape?
There's some things I brought that I will be mailing home as soon as I can time an open post office, right? I think. But nothing I wish I had brought that I guess given the conditions, I kind of gambled on a 40-degree sleeping bag and a bivvy, and it's been fine. It's been more motels. I bivvied out that one night in the rain, found a shelter, bivvied out a couple of nicer nights. I might do a tent next time, just knowing that I'm not going to be near the front of the pack, and the good tent wouldn't take that much more to set up. And the 40-degree sleeping bag, I don't know. I don't know how you, like, I had a 40 and a 20, and I gambled on the 40, and that's been fine for the most part too. So no, I don't, can't think of anything that I've really missed or wish I had with me. Oh, the right, I wish I had brought the right brake pad replacements. Red Meadow Mountain is one of the nasty hike-a-bikes. Pre-winter storm, it just had a long ass snowy hike-a-bike, and that, and I think there were 3 snow hike-a-bikes prior to that, so it wasn't the last. Somewhere right in the middle, just toasted my brakes, and I coasted into Whitefish on, like, basically metal on metal for the entire day because the brake pads that I had packed, which my bike shop had given me, and stupid me, it's on me for not checking. But I was like, this is a bike shop. They do this all the time. I'm not going to check. My brakes look fine right now. I know that I have the right brakes. And I went to pull them out and put them in, and they were these beefy mountain bike brakes that absolutely were the wrong ones. So that's one thing I wish I would have brought. But that seems like dumb advice to your listenership, which almost certainly knows to bring the correct brakes and check that ahead of time.
I don't know. Whenever I did my East Texas Showdown the first year, everybody ran out of brake pads. So maybe it's worth reinstating the importance of having not only backup brake pads, but, just make sure they're the right ones. You never know.
Yeah, I had the right backup for somebody.
It's like that, tying a glove on your Achilles heel. Like, maybe they didn't think that was going to benefit anyone, and it still didn't benefit you, but it almost did if you could figure out how to do it. Well, listen, I don't want to take up too much of your time because, you are racing right now, and you've got stuff to do. So, what is, we hop off the phone, we stop talking. What do you need to do tonight? Like, what's on your to-do list to get ready to go out and do this again tomorrow?
So this was a super short day. This is the shortest day we've had so far, apart from the day where I took a knee and didn't do anything. So I've already done resupply. I got new socks, which is my treat to myself because my other ones have like 2 holes in them and have been worn every single day. So after I jump off the phone with you, I'm going to eat probably an entire frozen pizza that is, I think, done from the oven. Sorry, maybe not done to perfection, but it's done. I'll have a beer, and I'm basically going to have this is going to be the plushest night of the entire trip. So I'm going to chill out, get some good sleep, and decide if I'm up at 4 a.m. to keep race pace, or if, for everyone listening, if you see my dot lagging back in the above the 25 day pace, you know what my choice was today.
What will be the determining factor there? I mean, your Achilles heel is obviously maybe a consideration, or what are you weighing that would make you want to wake up at 4 or sleep in and take a little time?
Well, first is where I want to get to. If I want to, David is pushing to Wamsutter, which I think is 100 and it's above 150. It's going to be a big day, and so you've got to get up and get out early. It's 180, so it'd be another 180 day, and I felt pretty good after the last 180 day that we did. But so I've got to figure out if I want to do that, or if my goals are to if there's something shorter than I'm comfortable with. I don't know. So some of it's going to be about the weather. Some of it's going to be about where I can get to and actually busy or get a place, and some of it's going to be figuring out if my motivation is to, if I'm racing it, is that what I want, or am I getting swept up in all of this? Is what I really want, just to get to Mexico as fast as I can without damaging myself. So I'm gonna have to, big questions, I guess. at the end of the day, we're all going to feel great when we hit that wall in Antelope Wells. So that's my biggest
That's the
goal.
main
Whatever
goal.
I choose to do tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling about yourself and your efforts so far in comparison to, like, I don't know, how you thought you'd be doing and how you thought you'd be feeling halfway into the Tour Divide? And this is your first Tour Divide, right? I meant to ask you like at the very beginning, but I just got talking. But this is your first Tour Divide, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So how do you, I mean, like talking to you, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if you could be like super tired and mentally fatigued and, all these things. And maybe, I just didn't know. I mean, I figured but you sound, I feel like it's like a Monday morning. You've had your coffee. You're very mentally aware. You're very communicative and you seem totally fine. Seem like this is easy.
Well, you caught me on a short day again, but yeah, you should talk to Alan Shaw. Was that his name, David? Alan. Yeah. He pushed through that mud. If you want to talk to somebody who can go through shit and come out just like exuberant on the other side, like how great was that mud, everyone? And I think he half meant it. He met us up. We were eating breakfast at Lava Mountain Lodge this morning, and he came in after being up on the pass in like a 20-degree night. Just happy as a clam, completely awake. So anyhow, I'm feeling pretty good. But it was also a super short day, so I should have some energy to spare.
Oh, I mean, how many days? We're 10 days into it. So I don't know, man. That's just crazy. Like you said, your longest event was 5 days. So you're double that. I mean, that's just insane. And you got like probably 10 more days to go. So I don't know. It's just so crazy to be home watching dots and watching y'all like slow. And you've done this. You've watched the dots. You've sat at home and you've like gone to sleep 9 times and you wake up the 10th morning and you're like, yep, they're still out there. Yep, they only got, not very much sleep and they're riding 100+ miles a day and it's snowing and it's cold and it's rainy and it's muddy and like you're just still going. Like it's mind blowing, And so to talk to you, who's in the thick of it, doing it right now, and yeah, you seem like you're doing good, man. Seem like you got your good spirits about you. You're thinking clearly, and seems like you're going to do the thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, the short story is we're all having a blast out here. It's a tough year, blah, 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 but it's gorgeous. It's more fun than being at work. It's like, it's not hard to get back into good spirits for sure, but it does give me a huge appreciation it gives me a huge appreciation for what the people at the front are doing. Like Abe, Sophian, like what, Jay, Lael, man, it's tough. This feels so tough right now. And that they do that and seem to be in good spirits the entire time, or at least the parts that we see, is just gives my appreciation is on a whole other level now.
Well, I don't know. Sophian was complaining about the Wyoming basin, which have you gone through the basin yet, or do you have the basin coming up?
No, it's coming up maybe tomorrow if I follow David out to Wamsutter. And I saw somebody post, Chris Schmidt, I think, posted that there's peanut butter mud on the basin. So it depends on, I don't know if that's what Sophian went through. Do you know?
No, I don't. Whenever he was complaining on Instagram, he was just talking about the wind. For the last 2 days, I've heard him talking about is, having PTSD from the wind. He's just like, even if I hear the wind, I get scared or something. So what is the Tour Divide like? I mean, is it what you expected in terms of like the scenery and the route and all that? Is it, I'm curious because I mean, I know a lot about it, but I've never done it. And I'm curious, like if I was actually to go, and I hope to do it one day, but when I do, what is it like? Is it, yeah, I don't know. Is it just too big to even comprehend?
Yeah, it's just so many. I mean, I've only been through Canada, only recently left Montana and Idaho, and the section of Wyoming I'm in are pretty small, but so maybe I'll catch you when I finish. And it's I'm sure Colorado. I lived in Colorado for a couple of years, so I know what to expect somewhat there. And New Mexico will be completely different, sort of biomes. But it's been gorgeous. I mean, it's gorgeous. It is definitely feels like an adventure with the snow. It's it's something that everybody out here is choosing to do somewhat for their own reasons. So it's great to talk to people and get to hear their stories. It's been not as I expected or pictured, listening to audiobooks and watching documentaries, because every year is completely different. But in that way, it is what I expected. I expected it to be, you can't. It's such a long route, and the weather is changing constantly. That it's going to be different for everyone every year, and for everyone at whatever pace they're riding. So hasn't disappointed yet. It's frustrated from time to time, but it hasn't disappointed.
What has been, we talked about like I think your hardest day was yesterday, it sounds like, but what's been either your best day or your most rewarding experience or most beautiful view? Like what's something that's been pretty awesome that you wouldn't have experienced any other way?
Oh man, you make me wish I was one of those people that journaled before they went to bed in their bivvy at night.
I'm not one of those people either. And
I'm one of those people that always says like, oh, I'll do that, or I'll do 10 minutes of meditation before I head out. And then I don't do those things. Okay. Most rewarding. I think getting into, is it Lima? I want to say they say it. Is it Lima? Okay.
I think so.
I mean, that's how I say the Italian city. So let's say Lima.
Let's go with that.
Getting into there at 3 a.m. or so after just a huge push, just getting to ride my bike all day, listen to a great audiobook, did cry to that. So maybe that's the trick. You need to listen to a really good book, and then you'll have your bike back and cry.
Noted.
And it just felt great to have a day like that after getting out of all of those snowy passes. So I think that was the most.
Yeah, it's just a rewarding feeling to know that. I mean, that you went out there assumably to push yourself and to try something hard and see where your own limits were. And so, yeah, I mean, your expectations had to be adjusted at the beginning. Everybody's did. So being able to kind of like open that up and really push yourself and get like a really good solid day on. Yeah, it's gotta feel fucking amazing, man. Especially after like getting through all that hard stuff, right?
Yeah. It was good to just have some validation that, okay, yeah, you know what, you can do big days. It really has been the weather that's just making excuses. There was also pushing, I forget which pass, Galton Pass. Galton Pass we did the wall in Galton, David and I. Started the wall around 11 p.m., which is this, famous section that's relatively short, but it's a lot of wet hike-a-bike, almost, straight up, it feels like at times, just through muddy single track. So we did that, and that puts you out on Galton Pass, which was just covered in snow. And so we summited Galton somewhere around like 1:32 a.m. No, it was probably 12:31 a.m. and cruised across the U.S. border and into Eureka at 3:30 a.m. And I don't know if that was rewarding or just, that's definitely a memory I'm going to, I'll keep with me. I don't know that I would do it again, but it it felt like a pretty, if you could use the word epic to describe anything, that felt like an epic evening.
Yeah. Well, that sounds rewarding. Maybe that's one of those type 2 funds that you'll really appreciate later on. You'll be like, holy shit, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah. No,
Or
at the
maybe you're
time I was like, holy shit, should we have done that? Was that very dangerous? Did we almost have to hit SOS? I put my head down on my bike at one point while we were near the peak, to just rest for a little bit because I was getting exhausted, and I almost fell asleep, and I snapped awake. It was like, you know what, that I was awake for the rest of the climb, because I pictured myself falling asleep on top of that path in my wet clothes, and that snapped me right out of it.
Yeah, you definitely got to keep moving. That's smart. What are your so who are you shacking up with? Who are the other riders that are in this hotel situation?
So David Landis is here, and Ethan, his last name's escaping me. He'll be listed, I think, on Dot Watcher as Threethan.
Okay.
The three at the front. And if you want to talk to either of them, I can pass the phone over to them. I should probably grab some pizza at some point and get some calories in me. But yeah, those guys are here, and we're all trying to figure out what our different plans are for tomorrow.
Sweet, dude. Yeah, no, I will let you go. I want to, I feel bad even taking up any of your time, being on the, you are racing.
So fun.
I know. And I don't feel too bad. And for people listening, I mean, like, I put out a call, nobody had to answer it. But you've been really, I've been chatting with some different people, but it's hard to find time. It's like, okay, well, you need cell phone service, and you need to have like a little bit of downtime. So it, like, logistically, I knew it would be challenging, and I wanted to be really respectful of, what you're trying to do. But yeah, this has been, I don't think anyone's ever done this before. I don't think everyone's ever like talked to somebody while they were actually doing the Tour Divide or any other race, and released it during the race. And so that is exciting. But also, man, like, I always do, and not always, but a lot of times you're talking to like the winner of the race. But, like you said, there's 130 people out there, and your experience is much more relatable to, most people that have a job that, no offense to Sophie On, but, isn't a sponsored athlete, that doesn't ride their bike every single day, all day, whenever they want. You gotta, make sacrifices. And that's what you were talking about at the beginning about, all these people who've taken off work and have come there with their own like goals and things that they want to achieve. And so I think that we talked earlier, and you're like, talking about the fast people, but I feel like, your experience and a lot of the mid packers and back of the packers, I mean, those are the stories that are going to be most relatable to, the widest audience, I think. So I do, I appreciate you taking the time and making it work. And it's been a lot of fun chatting with you. And I have a lot of respect for you and everybody that's out there, man. I'm just sitting in my house watching dots, and y'all are out there actually getting it done. And so congratulations on making it this far, and looking forward to watching your dot, man. You might pick up a few more dot watchers after this.
I'll try not to let them down. We'll see. They might watch it slip back and back and back. But no, thanks, Patrick. It's been awesome getting the chance to talk to you. I've obviously heard your voice a ton, and you've been on a lot of my long training rides as well along with me. So appreciate the chance to tell you a little bit about what I've been seeing here, and get the chance to chat with you.
Oh, man, it's been awesome. I'm glad that the podcast can be there for people to do that. All right, man. Well, get some pizza, enjoy your night. And real quick, let's tell everybody what your Instagram is, so they can not only watch your dot, but follow your Instagram, because you've been posting some story updates as well. Yes,
I will. Hopefully I'll have more cell coverage as I get further to Colorado. Cache Marz, CACHE MARZ, or they can just, if they look up Nick Marzano, they'll find it somewhere.
Cool. Well, and I'll post in the show notes too, and make it easy for everybody. I'll be the guy with the bike. All right, buddy. Well, you have a good ride. Thanks again for chatting with me, and maybe we'll catch up with you after the ride and see how it went. We'll see if our schedules can align.
Cool, man. Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right. Well, have fun at the finish. I probably won't see you there at my pace, but have a blast, man.
All right, buddy. You too. We'll talk to you later.
Take care.
All right, folks, that is it for today's episode. A big shout out to my boy Nick Marzano, who's out there right now. If you are following his dot, it looks like Nick made the call to wake up a little bit earlier this morning and get out on the trail. So it looks like he is still in race mode and still pushing himself. Looks like he's right there with his friend David, and they're still tackling the route together. So if you guys are listening, and I think that you might, Nick, again, thank you for coming on the episode. It was a pleasure to talk to you. So much fun to get some live reports from someone who's actually on the Tour Divide this year and hear about what the conditions and some of the struggles and some of the good stuff. We talked about all the things, and it was a really lovely chat, and I wish you all the best on the rest of your race. All right, everyone. Well, that is it for today's episode. Next week's episode is going to be extra special, and I've kind of hinted at what it might be. And if you have been paying extra close attention, you might be able to connect the dots, pun intended. But if you haven't been able to connect the dots, then you'll just have to wait. But I promise it is going to be a banger episode. I'm looking forward to it. So until then, thank you for being here. It is always a pleasure. Now, don't forget, go ride your damn bike.
It was the middle of the night. You grabbed your knife and you held it tight. The sounds of beasts kept you awake. The sounds they made kept you afraid. In the morning, you packed your bike. Memories forgotten from the previous night. You rode faster than ever before. Was it your imagination or merely folklore? Fear turned into strength as you pushed further. Every pedal stroke stronger and firmer. Your bike feels weightless, your legs aren't tired. You think to yourself, just a few more miles. Bikes, oh death. Bikes, oh death.